Recording started.
This is case study number 14, Saving the Everglades, resolution by Corey Harlow. And what we have here is a picture of the Everglades and where it is located within Florida and a hurricane that struck most recently in the Everglades area. So first let's talk about what case study number 14 is. Case study number 14 is called Saving the Everglades. It's all about restoring the Everglades and the problems that are occurring within it. We have overfishing, disruption of ecological succession, and flooding problems that are occurring within the Everglades area. So first we talk a little bit about food webs and why food webs are more likely to be used than food chains. And the answer is our environment is set up so that there are no distinct food chains, but instead all the chains run together and form what is known as a food web. There's not distinct chains where it goes a fox and then a squirrel and then a grasshopper and then grass, and then we have another food chain with a hawk and then a mouse and a grasshopper and grass. That's not how it works. All the food chains just work within one another and become combined. The deer eats the tree, the squirrel eats the tree, the bird eats the grass, the hawk eats the squirrel, the hawk eats the deer. It's just a whole bunch of food chains mixed into one another. Then we talk a little bit about the trophic levels. You start on the bottom with the primary producers, such as this grass or the plants at the bottom of the ocean. Then we move into primary consumers, such as the grasshopper, which eats the producer, or the plankton. Then we go to the secondary consumers, such as the small fish that eat these little plankton, or the mouse that eats this grasshopper. And then we move on to the tertiary, where we have the tertiary consumers, such as the big fish eating the little fish and the owl eating the mouse. Next, we talk a little bit about eco. Ecosystems are a system formed by the interaction of a community of organisms with their environment. Ecological succession is a fundamental phenomenon of ecology. It refers to the progressive succession from an unstable community to a stable community. Then we talk about two types of succession. There's primary succession, which is from newly formed soil, and secondary succession from already existing soil. Then we talk a little bit about the phenomenon of an ecological island, which is not necessarily an island surrounded by water, but is instead an area of land isolated by natural or artificial means from the surrounding land where a natural microhabitat exists amidst a large differing ecosystem. So it's not necessarily a real island, but instead a not an imaginary island, but a figurative island. Then we talk a little bit about exponential versus logistic growth. Exponential growth is unrestricted growth. That's the J curve, as seen on the graph. When the population just continues to accelerate, it has no end. Then you have the logistic growth, or the restricted growth. This is when the rate accelerates, and then it reaches its maximum point, and then the rate slows down. And that's how scientists have to look at our environment anymore, as logistic. Then we talk a little bit about fisheries, and why they're in trouble. Well, they're in trouble because of overfishing, pollution in the ocean, and eutrophication. The pollution is being attracted by the bacteria, which is then blocking the sunlight from getting to the fish and is killing them. Management that's been taken care of. There's been tight restrictions on fishing. There's been incentives on not fishing and conservation methods, but none of which have been successful. Now we actually get to the resolution part of this case study, the Everglades. So the problems in the Everglades are that humans are disturbing biodiversity and ecological succession. Overflooding and flooding are also major problems. So how are humans affecting this? Humans affect biodiversity by over-harvesting various species, which would be the fish, introducing alien, both invasive and non-invasive species to new habitats, ruining the food webs, creating pollution, or the dumping in the rivers, by altering, destroying, or fragmenting habitats, such as deforesting, and by interaction effects caused by the links between the species and an ecosystem. So, what's the resolution? In order to preserve biodiversity in various species in their environments, it is necessary for humans to begin to alter their conduct and become more mindful of the life around them. That's the only true resolution. And here is just a diagram of what is the possible solution to the hurricane and flooding problems that occur in the Everglades. I hope you enjoy and learn something new about the Everglades.